Hey, how you doing? Stick with me and we're going to see how to make a pen blank visualizer. So first, I've got a blank here. Um, this is, you 3D print this and then you cast a resin in it to make a pen. And since I'm able to get the center portion of the pen out, we're going to work with that. Now, if you can't do that, you can do this with the mold intact, because ultimately you cut all that away when we make the visualization. So in this case, though, we can get the center out. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, the first thing we want to do is let's make some pretend resin, because when we cut this away, it's going to have holes in it, and red on red is really difficult to see. So this is 27.5. It's meant to be about an inch square. So 27.5 millimeters. We're going to make the our resin about 30. Now we're going to cut most of this away so it doesn't have to be exact, and it also doesn't have to have very smooth sides, but this does need to be as big as our the mold that we're doing. So this is 50.19. We're going to let it hang over a little bit. We're going to make this 60. And then we need to turn this on its side. It's almost out of frame. Let me pull it down a little bit. There we go. So there, we've turned that on its side, and we're going to bring that down and set it on the base plate. So there we go. Now, we need to cut these. We need to cut these to be roughly the size of the pen that we want. So we're going to do another cylinder, and then we're going to do a hole, and we're going to combine these to make a die. Now this needs to be big enough around to cover the whole thing. So we're going to make this 40 by 40 because that's bigger than any of our components that we've done so far. And we made this 60, so we're going to make this a little larger. Going to make this 65. Now so far none of these have had to have smooth sides, but this one is the die that we're going to use to cut away the mold and cut away the resin. So we're going to go ahead and give it very smooth sides. Now if we want to make like a slimline pen, that's going to be 7 millimeters, so 8 millimeters at the outside. That's 8, not 80. Let's try that again. That's going to be 8 millimeters on the outside. And how tall we made this? 65. We need to make this 65 as well. Put these two guys together. And then we will turn them 90 degrees. Okay. Merge them and make a die out of them by turning them into a hole. So that little hole down the center that's 8 millimeters, that represents the outside of our pen. And we're going to need 2 of these dies. One of them we're going to use to cut the mold, and one we're going to use to cut the resin. So we'll select the mold, center, 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 merge. Select the resin, select the die, center, 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 merge. So that's our mold, and that's our resin, and we need to get those two guys together. So I'll select those. center, center, center. There. Now don't merge them because then they'll all become the same color and you won't be able to see the lines. But if you look closely, you'll see that Tinkercad is drawing two faces and it doesn't know which face to render because these are both exactly the same size. So we're going to just reduce the resin a little bit so that the mold stands proud. So currently we said that was going to be 8 millimeters. We're going to make this 7.9 tall and 7.9 wide. Now you can already see that it's much easier to see those, but if you want to look at it on all sides, they really have to be centered up because right now we're lined up on the left and bottom. So center, center, and now you can see what that's going to look like on an 8 millimeter pen. Interesting little design, but what would it look like on a larger pen? And we can find that out really easy. Now that we've done this much, it's really easy just to duplicate that. So we'll put this off to the side and copy it. We'll separate those two things, and now we'll ungroup both of them so that we get our die and our mold and resin separate. Now we're going to take the die and we're going to ungroup those as well. And we're just going to change the size of the hole. So we had an 8 millimeter hole, and let's say we're going to make like a Vesper or a Duraclick pen. That's a 12 millimeter roughly outside once it's finished. So change the size of these to 12. 12. Now you see these are out of center. You got to make sure you've only got two shapes selected here because remember in the center of this is the resin, or in this case over here the pen mold. So if you just draw across here, you'll get 3 shapes, and we don't want that. We want just right now the 2 shapes. Let's try that again. There we go. So we have 2 shapes, and we're going to center, center, and then merge. It was already centered in the 3rd axis. And we're going to turn that into a hole, and we're going to merge that with our resin. And then we're just going to repeat that over here. So we've already expanded our die so that it's 12 millimeters. And then center, center. You see it's already centered over here. Merge. And then we turn it into a hole and merge that with our mold. Then we just take these 2 pieces and we bring them back together. They're already centered here, center them here, and they're already centered here. And then we have the same problem we had before because we made these the same size. It always seems to make a rounding error, so it ends up at 0.01 when we do this. And I just take it down 1/10 of a millimeter. So our resin is a little smaller than the mold. The mold stands proud. We center these guys back up. I missed that one. Let's try it again. There we go. And now you see at the top, these have roughly the same design. But if you look at them from the side, you see that now these 2 lines are starting to come apart a little bit. So you have a little bit more of like a Celtic knot thing going there. And you can do this actually as much as you want. You can make any size pen. If you do like a 16 millimeter pen, that's a large Guardian or a cigar type pen. And I've actually done that. And I'll show you what it looks like if you take the time to sit and just render a whole bunch of these things. you get something that looks like this. And in this case, we've got 8 millimeters, 9 millimeters, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And you put those all side by side, and you can see what they look like. It's an 8 millimeter pen, 9 millimeter, 10, 11, 12. Slide this over a little bit. 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then you can see as you make these larger and smaller, you can see what it does to the patterns on each side. So this one here would be like a Guardian pen. This would be a Guardian Junior. This would be like a Vesper, Duraclick, Thompson, that kind of thing. And this would be, these two would be like a slimline. This would be about 8 millimeters. This would be kind of a fat slimline. If you did contours, right, you might get contours of in the slimline. The parts closest to the tips and the band in the center might have this shape. And if you gave it a little bit of a contour, you'd get these shapes towards the outside. Now notice that from above, they don't really lose that basic shape. So top down, they all look about the same, no matter what size you do. The big difference is that the top of the design is closer to the edge of the pen here. But on the sides, it makes just a tremendous difference. And this way, whatever pen blank you have, there's a whole bunch of them on Thingiverse, has a whole bunch of pen blanks. And I'll probably put this one up on Thingiverse before too long. And this way you can visualize any one of them. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful. And enjoy making your new pens.